Hello, QVS World Geography students. I hope you are having a good weekend, and I hope that you're moving along nicely through Essential Unit 2 on North America. Right there on my map, the United States and Canada. See, you can recognize it behind me. And I wanted to take the opportunity today to take you to the course page and talk about where you should go in this next week, the final week of Essential Unit 3, and what you need to do in order to be successful in closing the unit. So let's go to the course page and talk about where we've been and where I want you to go from here. So back to the map, you know that we've been focusing on the United States and Canada. In fact, in week 2 of Essential Unit 2, you should have completed these 2 assignments, Geography Now activity on North America, and you should have also looked at some of the geographic challenges and advantages that both Canada and the United States have. We spent quite a bit of time talking about geographic advantages and disadvantages last week. So hopefully you work through those 2 activities without too much trouble. And hopefully you were able to draw some conclusions based on what was presented to you in those 2 short little Stratfor videos on Canada and the United States. And then following through, you should have looked at the economy and culture of the US and Canada within the context of this last activity here. Now, moving on into week 3, in fact, the final week of Essential Unit 2, I want to talk to you today about what your responsibilities are and how to successfully pull this unit to a close, okay? In the first activity, we're going to go back to population. So I want you to spend some time analyzing the populations of the United States and Canada. So if I open this up for you, you're going to go back to this website that you've used before in Essential Unit 1 called populationpyramid.net. You need to come to understand that just simply by looking at the population of a country alone, a lot of information can be drawn from the standard of living in that country. So if you go back to that website, what I want you to do, and it's pretty much outlined here for you, after you open the population pyramid generator, I want you to create a pyramid for each of the 2 countries, so the Canada and the United States, for those 3 years, 1970, 2020, and 2070. So what it was like, or what they were like 50 years in the past, what their populations look like today, and what their populations will look like in 50 years. So that's a real quick, easy activity. And then I suppose where it gets a little bit more difficult is in section 4 here, where I ask you to compare the similarities and differences. So it's in the context of this question that I want you to really consider in what ways the population in Canada and the US is similar. So take a close look at the gender breakdown, so the difference between male and female, and then also take a look at the different age brackets. So how are the populations broken down between the younger generation, perhaps the group of, or the portion of the population under the age of 15 versus the set of population who are in the labor force between the ages of 15 and 65, and then that population over the age of 65. So kind of break down the population pyramids in those 3 different main age brackets and compare the 2 countries. How are they similar? How are they different? And then as you examine the population pyramids, then move further through my questions. Are these 2 countries experiencing rapid growth, where the pyramid would really be like a triangle? Is there slow growth, or is there no growth? So in a slow growing country, the pyramid would look more like a column, and a no growth country would actually show more or a heavier percent of the population in the ages 65 and above versus the ages 15 and below. So take a look at how those pyramids are shaped and draw some conclusions based on the extent to which the countries are growing today. Now, one thing that the United States and Canada both have in common that does have an impact on their population is the fact that they are both nations of immigrants. So lots of people are attracted to both Canada and the United States for economic opportunity. And you might see that the fact that both of those countries have large numbers of immigrant communities, that plays a role in the extent to which the countries are growing today. So it'll be interesting for you to look at the population of Canada and the United States. And then I want you to kind of continue through. Are there any abnormalities in either of the pyramids? Look at particular years and see if something stands out, and then try to figure out or analyze why that may be the case. And then finally, based on the data, evaluate the standard of living of the United States and Canada. So if you have populations that are living into past the age of 70, you should be able to come to understand that there must be greater access to health care. There must be higher standards of living that allow for the populations to live to nice, ripe old ages. So you're going to end the activity by evaluating the standard of living of those two countries just based on looking at the population pyramids alone. Okay, so that's the first activity for this week. Again, it shouldn't be too troublesome for you because you've already used that pyramid generator, but just be mindful in this activity, your focus is the United States and Canada. And then moving further into the week, we're going to take a look at some of the features of the US and Canada as it relates to their different sub-regions. So they're both fairly big countries in terms of land area. And in this activity, we'll take a look at the smaller sub-regions of each of them. So in the United States, we're talking about the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, and the West. And then in Canada, we're talking about like the prairie provinces versus the Western provinces and territories versus the core provinces, and so on and so forth. So in looking at each of those countries, but from a sub-regional perspective, you should be able to gain an understanding of how each of them are different from the eastern end of the country to the western end of the country, because as I said before, in terms of land area, they're both fairly sizable, and you can't make the assumption that the standard of living or the quality of life or the way of life is the same from one part of the country to another. So hopefully with those two activities, you'll gain a good understanding of how the different regions of each of the countries vary over time and space. And then finally, moving into the latter end of the week, I want you to listen to a TED Talk on regional topics that relate to North America. So if you open this activity, you'll see that you have a choice between many different TED Talks. So you might want to look at the topics for each of them. The first one is about the American dream, skipping down what it means to be American, the Great Migration. So the topics are varied. You have to pick one of them, and then taking you back to the course page as you watch, you're going to have to go up to this resource section and open the TED Talk worksheet, because I want you to complete this worksheet while you watch the chosen TED Talk. And then finally, moving into the end of the week, current events. So it's important for you to have an understanding of what are some of the issues going on in the countries today. And if you open this, you'll see that you have, again, like the TED Talk activity, an option of 4 or 5 different current issues in North America. And in order to be successful in this current event activity, again, you're going to have to go back up to the resource section, and there is a current events journal worksheet right here. You'll open it up, and as you watch the current event video, you're going to have to complete that analysis sheet for the current event that you have chosen. And take a look at the different choices. Again, they are varied, just like in the TED Talk activity. Now, moving into the assessment portion, because I would like you to get this done this week as well. And then you could take a fall break, if you will. You can take some time off. I won't schedule anything for the following week, but there is this unit summary activity. Just like in Unit 1, you had a unit summary activity. In this unit, there is one as well. So if we open this up, I give you a map of the world, and you can see or gain a strong understanding of the standard of living in the United States and Canada based on the GDP per capita as it existed in 2017. There is a document attached here. It's called the CIA Country Profile, and you're going to use the CIA World Factbook for this activity. And you have to either choose the United States or Canada as your focus for this activity. And then on the worksheet, there's all kinds of data that you will be looking at to draw conclusions of the United States or Canada in the modern period. So that is the summary activity for this unit. You get to pick the United States or Canada as your focus. Now, you're also going to notice that there is an A-level activity, and it applies to essential units 2 through 10. So this is a year-long activity that I want you to engage in. One project for all of those units, but you won't be assessed on it until the end of the year. But essentially what I want you to do is create a world geography website. And I would encourage you to do this as we work throughout the year if you want to be considered for above mastery. If you're happy with mastery and B level, then you do not have to engage in this activity. But if you are interested in above mastery, then I want you to create a world geography website. Right now, as it stands, just take a look at the geography webpage that was a sample from one of my students from last year. So if I open this up, you can see how this student organized the world geography webpage from 2019-2020, investigating geographic features from Unit 2, 3, all the way up through 10. So as you scroll through this sample website, and let's say we'll go to Unit 2, for example, you can see the focus for this one was North America. And the student collected a number of maps, collected some important historical events, some demographic data, so on and so forth. Some videos that were relevant, a description of the society in North America. Okay, so that is the A-level activity for the year. There are all kinds of websites right here to support you in this project. And as it stands right now, by the end of week 3 in Essential Unit 2, the most I want you to do is is to look at the sample web page that a student created last year and kind of make the decision in whether or not you are going to engage in this activity for this school year. Again, it's a big project, but it will be A-level for Essential Units 2 all the way through 10. And you can see that the final project is due on June 4th of 2021. Okay, so think about that. take a look at the sample, take a look at some of the resources, and decide whether or not you're going to engage in this big activity.